Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, Lauren here with another great business to discuss on this episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. Today's guest is John, and he's selling his Amazon FBA business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. Welcome to the show, John. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. Well, I'm really excited to have you on the show, and I can't wait to learn more about your business. But before we dive in, I'm going to go over a brief summary of the business. This is an Amazon FBA business created in May 2018 in the art niche. The average monthly revenue for the business is $31,264, and it makes an average of $9,387 per month in net profit. For everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 58996 to learn more about this business. Or you can unlock this listing to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing this asset. The assets included in the sale are an Amazon Central Seller account with 85 SKUs, a domain and all site content and files, supplier relationships, a Facebook social media account, a trademark, and digital files associated with the SKUs. Please note that inventory is not normally included in the list price, but further details can be provided to active buyers. So now that we know more about the business, let's hear from the seller. John, can you tell us a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses?
Yeah, sure. So full-time job as a psychologist in the Navy. I've been doing that for about 17 years. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I started getting interested in online businesses. And I started off in affiliate marketing and ran a couple small-time sites. And one of them was a product gift catalog that was associated with Amazon, their affiliate program. And I kept having people contact me to their products on my website. And through that, I learned a lot more about actually selling on Amazon. And that kind of piqued my interest. And I started watching tutorials and learned about Jungle Scout, and then started the product search and found a couple areas to explore, and finally took the plunge and started off with just launching one product and have just kind of built it from there over time.
Wonderful. And what made you choose this particular niche and products?
Well, I was interested in doing something that was low cost to start. And I was also really interested in finding something that I could actually source completely in the US, so I didn't have to deal with China or importing, and could do something with fairly quick turnaround. Most of my products I can get manufactured and sent in within just a couple weeks. So it was a really kind of easy just to get going. And once I had success with my first product, it took off from there.
Oh, fantastic. So it sounds like you've had a lot of success with this business. What are the reasons that you're selling it now?
A couple of reasons. One is, as a naval officer, I've been fortunate with my last 2 jobs since I've started this business to have a pretty predictable schedule and not have to deploy or be gone for long periods of time. And I'm getting ready to start another job here in just a few months, in which my schedule is going to be a little less predictable. And so my time to actually run the business will be a little bit constrained and fairly less predictable. So I also been doing it for almost 4 years, and I think there's still plenty of capacity for growth. But for me to have the time to continue to grow it further, I think it's going to be constrained by my next job. And I'd really like to see it grow further, and hoping I can find somebody who would bring the same passion and take it to the next level.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. This was your first foray into FBA. Is there anything you learned from this business that you would apply to any future sites or businesses that you may work on?
Yeah, I think so. When I was looking for new products to launch, my strategy was, just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. And some of that has worked and some hasn't. I think I would take what I've learned in the last, couple of years of the business is to really focus on much more of the higher demand items and to not be afraid of competing, because good reviews across the board, and most of the ones that are in the higher competition areas I've been able to get to the first page search results and have good result with advertising as well. So I think kind of bringing that, not being afraid to take the plunge into more higher competition areas is something that I've learned from that.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned that not everything went according to plan. If you had to start this business again, is there anything that you would do differently a second time around?
I think that's the main thing, is focusing more on the ones that have the higher demand. I've also worked with a couple different suppliers. I started off with a kind of a mom and pop shop, a little bit smaller group who, provided great customer service and did a lot of my packing for me. I think what I would do now is not be afraid to hire new people or contract workers, because now I've got some contract workers in place that have made the job considerably less time intensive and much more efficient. So I think, going at scale is something that I've learned is makes your life a lot simpler, ordering larger quantities, figuring out ways to incorporate an efficient storage system and packing system. I think that's what I would bring to any new venture.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. Do you do anything in terms of marketing for this business?
Solely Amazon PPC. I started off with a Facebook page, and I think that would be an area for growth. I tried some Facebook marketing when I would launch new products, but I haven't put much effort into the Facebook page in a couple of years. So I think there's room for growth there, and using other social media channels. Particularly, I think Pinterest would be useful, but I've just focused solely on Amazon PPC and being able to have good luck with that.
Yeah, absolutely. You hinted at with the social media aspect, but if you were to keep the business, what are some of the ways that you would try and grow it further?
I think within this space, there's a ton of different variations of products, and there's always new designs. I have quite a catalog of things that could be launched. I just haven't had time to do. But that's what I would focus on, is just continue to launch new products. Within this niche, it's fairly easy to get that spun up and get things out quickly. And it's also easy to test the market at a pretty low cost, considering I'm using US suppliers. And, having a better social media imprint, I think would be a fairly easy way to garner a little bit more interest. I've explored expanding into Walmart, and I think that would be some pretty low-hanging fruit. And then building out the website a bit more and, tying that to Shopify, I think would be another easy route to go.
Yeah, some great points there. And I think a lot of potential for the business, which is really wonderful. Talk to me about your supply chain. I know all your suppliers are based in the US. How does the inventory get from their factories over to the Amazon warehouses?
So with one of them that I use on the products that have multiple prints associated with them, they pack everything, they label it, and they just send it direct to the fulfillment center. For some of my single item SKUs, I have them sent here to me where I live. And then I have some local contract workers that I basically pay, close to minimum wage to pack those in. And it's a very easy packing process. So it only adds about 10 cents per item to get it packed. And then I just take it to a local UPS store and send it off to Amazon from there.
Okay, great. So how many hours per week do you work on this business, and what sort of tasks take up your time?
It varies. So if I am not actively trying to launch new SKUs, the business is on autopilot. You could do as little as 5 hours a week. And that just entails, I just monitor customer reviews. I probably get, customer email once every, on average, 2 to 3 weeks. I monitor the PPC campaigns. And that's essentially it, that and just keeping an eye on inventory. The inventory planning is quite simple because of my turnaround time is so short. So generally, just 2 to 3 weeks out, and I try to keep about 3 months of inventory ready to go. But the time commitment on that is, it's a well-oiled machine. If you're actively launching new products, I typically outsource most of the design. And so that's a little more time intensive, but that just involves working on product designs and building the listings, creating ad campaigns, that kind of thing. So, you can actively grow this at a steady pace, I would say, with, 10 hours a week.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It definitely sounds like a very streamlined process. For someone who's not familiar with this niche or business model, what requirements would you say are needed to run this business successfully?
Obviously having a good understanding of the back end of Seller Central. What would be very useful is just a good working knowledge of using sites like Fiverr and Upwork. and learning a little bit about the packing materials, things like that. But it's all pretty straightforward. I use Uline for most of the packing stuff. So it's certainly not rocket science. So it's a fairly straightforward business to learn how to grow and learn how to run.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like it, which is a great thing. What would you say are the biggest risks associated with the business that buyers should be aware of?
Like any business, just increasing competition and kind of making sure you're keeping your finger on the pulse of what's going on within the niche and looking at new products that are coming out, figuring out ways to kind of create your own designs that compete with those spaces. Obviously, with what's going on in the world right now, there's the occasional supply constraints, issues with manufacturers having the right materials. Been fortunate with that really haven't had any major delays or anything, too much of a headache to deal with. But I'd say that's the main challenge really, is just making sure that you're watching your competitors and figuring out, new SKUs and new things to launch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously no one knows the ins and outs of this business better than you do. What sort of support are you willing to offer buyers to help ease the transition and teach them about these risks?
Yeah, I'm actually willing to be pretty active. I'm willing to do, probably 30 to 60 days or even longer. It depends on the buyer. I think, teaching them how to run the business is fairly straightforward, but, I genuinely care about the success of this business and I would really love to see it succeed. So I'm willing to put in that effort to, stay on board and provide any support that's needed to help get it to the next level.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I think that's going to be a huge help. When it comes to the actual sale of the business, are you open to negotiating something like an earn-out?
I am open to the idea of it. It would depend on the structure of it. Like I said, kind of going back to part of my motivation to sell is, within about, half a year or so, my schedule is going to change quite a bit. So, the capacity for me to continue to grow it once I start in my new position would be a little bit of a challenge. So if it's more of a shorter term earnout, I'm open to it. It would not be the ideal way to go, but I'm certainly not averse to discussing it.
Okay, great. And would you be willing to commit to a non-compete agreement?
Yes, I would be.
Wonderful. Well, John, do you have any advice that you would give our listeners that you wish you knew when you first started out as an Amazon FBA seller?
Yeah, I would say, don't be afraid just to go full at it. I came into this without any business experience whatsoever. I had to learn everything from the ground up. And I think it's a great little area to be in. So fairly straightforward.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's very important, not to get in your own way and just go for it. That leads us into the last question of the interview, and probably the most important one, which is, if you had to put yourself into the shoes of a buyer, why do you think your business is a business worth buying?
I think this business has several really strong selling products. So it's not just driven by one hero product. I have several SKUs that do really well. But I have right now 85 SKUs total. I just sent in yesterday another 5 new SKUs, and I have another 5 ready to go on the hopper. So the business has really good depth of sales. So there's some that are slower sellers, but there's a lot that just they do fairly well. So if you look at kind of my breakdown of sales, it's pretty well spread across the SKUs. So I think it's got a pretty good moat there, and I think that's been like that for a couple of years now. So I think that's likely to continue. All the products are pretty highly reviewed. I don't think I have anything less than 4.3 stars. So it's all very well made, good quality, well packaged, and the feedback from customers has been great. So I think it's got some legs, and I think it's got potential for growth.
Yeah, wonderful. It certainly sounds like a very steady and streamlined business. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners that I might have missed?
No, I don't believe so.
Brilliant. Well, thanks so much for your time, John. It's been really great talking to you and learning more about your business.
All right, thank you.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. To learn more and see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 58996. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. Once you've unlocked this listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.